Hello, it's Philip Taylor speaking from Richmond Green Chambers in London. Today I'm looking at a book which has come to us for review, which is on a very interesting subject, quite controversial at the moment, because it's international tax planning. It's now actually in a fourth edition. The title of the book has a subtitle, United Kingdom Companies and Partnerships, and it's looking at the thorny issue of effectively what tax liabilities you really should have when you're running a company. We're not now talking here about these emotive subjects of tax evasion, criminal offence, or tax avoidance, which is a morally repugnant thing to do, but we're looking at the sensible way to plan your tax liabilities with the revenue. The book has actually been written by Martin Palmer, and the consultant editor of the book is John Dewhurst. It's available as an eBook, and it comes from Jordan Publishing Limited in Bristol. And I think it's a tax book to treasure, which is effectively what we've called it as our review title. Elizabeth and I talked about this book, and we thought it really was rather an excellent one. It's a paperback. There it is there, you see a little paperback. That's the front, there's the spine, and then there's the back. You see there's quite a lot of information on the back. And as I say, it is an e-book, which is very helpful to know. And there's some quotes. Let's go to the back of the book first of all. There is the index, which you can see, and it's actually about paragraph numbering, so you can find things reasonably easily. There are some appendices. You can see they are actually about specific statutes. What you do have in the body copy of the text, you can see here, for instance, chapter 7. You can see that's about holding companies. You've got some footnoting at the bottom, not too much, which is rather good, but you've also got paragraph numbering, which is at the sides there, and that's really where you can find the information when you're looking at the index. Now the front of the book, there's the front page, and there they mention the detail of the two authors, who are excellent and experienced people. There's a preface which is always worth reading, so you get some idea of where we're going at the moment with this. The law is as stated on the 25th of February 2015, and Martin Palmer has actually written the main preface. Then you've got the actual chapters. Now you'll see that the contents are quite detailed, which is again very helpful as we go through the various chapters. You should be able to find what you're looking for pretty quickly, and it does deal with a lot of the main questions which are raised. There are a total of 8 chapters in total, and then you have the 3 appendices at the back and then the index. Then if we go into the main body of it, there are the table of cases, not too many of them, statutes, a couple of statutory instruments, then some international stuff, obviously because this is an international book. Then we go from that, very useful table of abbreviations, which I always think is important to mention, because you do sometimes have a little bit of a mental block. It's useful to know exactly what these abbreviations mean. Then you have the chapters. Now, what do we say about the book? Well, as I've said before, this is a controversial area, but it's an important area because as lawyers and as tax advisors, our function is to make sure that people are effectively paying the right amount of money within the rules that we have. So there's no intent at any stage to deliberately either conceal income, which should be taxed, or to deliberately avoid, in fact the word is evade, the payment of tax that should be due. Because again, that becomes a criminal offence clearly. Obviously tax avoidance is that hybrid area where the view is that it's morally repugnant, but at the same time a bit of common sense has to come into it, because at the end of all of this, if you don't have to pay tax because you are looking at the longer term plan for your business, for instance, or whatever you might be doing, I think it is important to make sure that you actually plan effectively for the future, for your United Kingdom company or partnership, and that's where this book comes in. So this is actually what we say about the book. UK tax lawyers will treasure this book, especially those involved in dealing with international clients looking to minimise their exposure to tax, legally of course that is. And as the title indicates, this book, in the words of the author Martin Palmer, considers the use of United Kingdom companies and United Kingdom partnership strategies pertaining to tax planning, quote, in a variety of international contexts, and describes the UK tax implications. Now, the point I'm making here is this book is about the global community that we are now in, for trading purposes and for everything else. And as the century unfolds, we're going to find more of this becoming much more important as the tax havens and all the other places where people stash their money starts becoming much more noticeable and much more commented upon in the international and the national media. Now, as the United Kingdom therefore continues to be an attractive corporate domicile for international business, the book focuses on the international use of United Kingdom companies and the tax consequences that accrue for UK companies in receipt of non-UK income. And that again is an important area because many of us today will have income which is actually accrued from another country. It could well be a different currency, it could be all sorts of things, but it's again a fact of life which many more people are now involved in. So therefore this book does have quite a wide appeal to a much wider readership than would hitherto have been the case even a few years ago. The book's been published by Jordan's in Bristol, and this is the fourth and the latest edition, which indicates the high regard in which this book is held, particularly by tax lawyers. Clearly and in accessible manner, the author covers what appears to be the widest possible spectrum of topics pertaining to international tax planning, perhaps too wide to mention in detail here in this short review. New material includes new chapters on double taxation relief, anti-avoidance legislation, the proposed UK beneficial owner register, and BEEPS, that's the Basic Erosion and Profits Shifting Action Plan 6. What emerges throughout, therefore, this book is the author's ability to define with precision certain key concepts in areas where considerable ambiguity might otherwise arise. Now take for example the meaning of the term trading activities. The author's wry comment is that HMRC seems to take a very broad conceptual view of the meaning of the term, and just how broad is explained in some detail, and I think you'll find that interesting to read. Another example is the word substantial, also a term supposedly well understood. Remember, in law we deal with words, we deal with the meaning of words and the construction of words, and that's what the judiciary sometimes are asked to rule upon. Here, the HMRC is clearer. Substantial, in terms of whether a company is trading or not, means, quote, more than 20% measured by the company's turnover, asset base and expenses. Also carefully explained is the limited liability partnership, the LLP, being referred to as a tax transparent entity, a separate legal personality yet taxed like a partnership. And again, we are in relatively early days, even with the LLPs. They've been around a while now, but I think we're still beginning to see the basic effect and the welcome actual introduction of this type of limited liability partnership. We cite these as only a few examples of the author's commendable mission to clarify and explain, and in doing so he has certainly extracted the most salient quotes from the relevant HMRC manuals, so you don't have to. In other words, it's a time saver for busy practitioners, if ever there was one. Let me conclude by saying, also noteworthy is the useful table of cases, not very many of them actually, statutes and statutory instruments, and of course the international and foreign material, which again is listed at the beginning. And it's fair to say that every lawyer undertaking work with international corporate clients, whether tax specialists or not, will find this book a succinct and convenient source of advice in tax planning consultancy. And as I've indicated, the law is as stated at the 25th of February 2015, and I'm recording this in the summer of 2015. There's the front cover, again, nice blue cover, then there's the actual spine, and then you've got the actual back of the book. just opening it in the middle. Right, in chapter 3, there we go, you see what we have here. That's United Kingdom International Holding Companies and Foreign Dividend Income, the exemption regime. Now obviously it's technical, but I think the way that Martin Palmer actually explains it is very, very helpful. Company residence is another one, another area that I think we're going to see a lot more happening concerning, in fact, where you actually have the company, actually where it physically is. Because again, in this day and age, we are, as I said, dealing with the global community. And then chapter 6, anti-avoidance issues, which I think is compulsory reading for anybody involved in this area, so you've got some idea as to exactly where we are at the moment. I have to say that unfortunately our politicians love to talk about this, the media certainly do, but at the end of the day we're still in a bit of a mess when it comes to some areas of this particular type of revenue law problem. And I'm hoping at some stage there will be a bit more clarity. I would say though that one of the problems we do have is not just the UK, because this is a much wider problem than something that we are facing within the United Kingdom. And I would hope at some stage we will probably get some agreement internationally on the way forward. I suspect that's a long way off yet though. Anyway, thank you very much to Martin Palmer and to all people concerned with this book, and of course to Jordan's, for an excellent publication. Do have a good look at it. Bye bye.